Hi, I'm Christine McDonald from Rushing River Apiaries, and today what I'm going to show you is how we boost a weak nuke by placing it over top of a really strong hive, putting of course a queen excluder in the middle. Now I will say that this is a fairly new technique for us. We did it for the first time this spring on 6 nukes that when they came through winter were just not building up the same way as our other nukes. We knew they weren't going to be ready to put into 10 frames. And we knew they needed a little bit of a boost. So we tried this out on 6. We're 6 for 6 with no problems introducing that second hive, the queen above a queen excluder. And within a week, those hives had fully rebounded to where in another week, we're able to take them off and they become a productive hive for the season. So what you need here is you need to have a good strong hive that is able to not only care for itself but also offer up a few bees to boost that weak nuke. This nuke obviously didn't sit here all winter, so I have brought it from the yard where it was. With these weak nukes, like usually there's this rule about moving hives either 2 feet or 2 miles. That doesn't apply too much to these weak nukes because they are weak enough that you're not worried about losing any foragers. There just aren't enough bees for them to be dedicating a big workforce to foragers. So this can be done within the same yard. It doesn't need to be moved a great distance. And then I also have a 10 frame box here. That's what I'm going to put the nuke in, of course, so that it fits neatly on top of the 10 frame setup that we have with our strong hive. Okay, so I've got my strong hive opened up. You can see that there's bees filling the whole box, and the same goes for the box below. This hive is going to have no problem offering up some nurse bees to help support the queen in the weak nuke that we're going to put above her. So there is a queen in this box, and we don't want those 2 queens to interact. So the next piece is going to be to insert a queen excluder. First, because I want to give them a little fondant, I'm just placing a feeding shim here. This part's optional. It depends seasonally on where you're at. We don't have any fresh nectar happening yet, so I want to make sure that these bees are nice and fed. Not doing pollen because we do have really good pollen flow happening at the moment. So just throwing on a little bit of fondant. Now, in between these 2 boxes, we need a queen excluder. And then we're going to put this 10 frame on top. Now, all I have in here right now is 4 empty frames. They have some drawn comb on them. They were extracted, honey was extracted out of them in the fall. So I have 4 of those in here because I have 6 frames in my nuke that are going to go right in the middle. So I'm going to leave 2 over on this edge. I'm going to take 2 out just so that it's easy to get those frames full of bees in there. I do have some old pollen patties that maybe I'll throw under that excluder after all. There we go. Now, the 6 frames in my nuke are not totally full of bees, obviously. That's why it is a weak nuke. But we're going to put those all right in the center here. If I had some additional honey frames from a dead out that I cleaned out or some that I saved from last fall, I would put those on either side of the original 6 nuke. I don't have any, so I'm just putting those 4 empty frames around them. We'll see if they have any honey of their own left here. So that's just an empty frame. Another one, this one's actually got a bit of fresh nectar in it, so I'm going to leave that one closer to the nest. There we go, a bit of leftover honey. That's what I like to see. That will not only help the nuke that's up here, but it'll also help to draw up some bees from the hive below. I'm gonna have a good look for my queen and to see if she is laying at all. So I see eggs. I don't see her yet. There she is. So she is laying. You know, it's just a small patch, but it's nice and continuous. I don't see any, well, I see like 2 capped cells, but they're not drone cells, so we're going to assume she's still laying females. And really all she needs is those extra nurse bees for support, and those are going to move up from the hive below. No, that's an ugly one, so I'm going to put it all the way to the outside, because these frames, even though they're empty, the ones that were extracted are still kind of wet. They still have a bit of honey that'll help draw bees up into that top box. Okay, and then I just need to add in these last 2. Okay. So I now have a queen excluder separating the queen and hive in the bottom boxes from the queen and colony in the top boxes, but there is a queen in both. I have my 6 frame nuke centered in here. If I have any honey or wet frames, those are going to go adjacent to kind of the best frames of that nuke. The really empty, useless, nothing happening on them nuke frames, I pushed right to the outside. That's not what those bees need right now. They need places for the queen to lay, and they need access to food. Now, we are still somewhat early spring here, so I'm going to replace my insulation layer. We use this underneath our inner cover. It does have a little notch in it, so you'll see in a minute that I'm going to have the top entrance on my inner cover, and the bees do have access through the top entrance, which is also very important, that these bees can come and go independent of these ones, so that there's not that intermixing until they choose to do that. Now, to keep that inner entrance on, we use an attic box. If you don't have an attic box, you can always just tilt your lid. We use an attic, and at the moment our attic boxes still have insulation in them, because again, this is early for us. And on goes the lid. So, to sum it up, we have a normal hive on the bottom board with a bottom entrance. It's reduced. I think it's a little bit out of the screen right now, but that's very standard. I put a feeding shim in here, so any food that you're giving to the whole hive setup right now will go in between the 2 bees, so that they can both access it without having to cross through the other's territory. In this box, I've centered my nuke in the middle, and then I have access at the top using that notch in the inner cover. The top, you may have an attic box or you may just have a lid, but make sure that you're leaving that top entrance open. Right now, they have a patch of brood, this weak nuke, like smaller than my hand. We'll come back in a week and see how we're doing, but if it's like the other 6 that we've already done this with this spring, they're gonna turn that patch into a couple frames full of brood, and then, as we know, it kind of grows exponentially from there. So if you give this a try, I'd love to hear how it works out for you. It's been successful for us so far this year, and is definitely going to be another tool in our toolbox. Thanks for watching.